You're listening to The Shipyard, created by Macey and Glen, celebrating 10 years of Peter Kay's car share, with special guest Paul Coleman. Hi, welcome to The Shipyard. This week we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Car Share, which premiered in April 2015. For those of you that aren't aware, where have you been hiding? Peter Kay's Car Share was a half-hour British situation comedy in which the two protagonists, supermarket manager John Redmond and shop assistant Kaylee Kitson, were thrown together in a company car share scheme. Most of the 12 episodes revolved around their journey to and from work, with the main story focusing on the blossoming friendship and potential romance between the two lead characters.
10 years of car share, and obviously it's an important show for us because that was how Lucy and I met and how we came about doing the shipyard in the first place. So it's something that we wanted to celebrate. So we're very pleased to have Paul Coleman with us. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us and hopefully remembering some stuff about something you did. I would imagine you started off more than 10 years ago working on
Yeah, that's why when you got in touch with it's 10 years, I thought, is it? And it feels longer, and it is longer because obviously it is longer
Yes.
for me.
Yeah.
But yes, if I was surprised it was 10 years anyway. But yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago in some ways, and then it feels like 2 minutes another way.
It's a lot like that. So when and how did you get their original idea for it?
So I'd done Pop Factor with Peter, and then thought, oh, that's quite good. We got quite a lot of attention for that. I quite liked the response we got for Pop Factor, and then I spent quite a bit of time doing my day job and thinking, can I come up with an idea for something that commissioners would like, having never met a commissioner at that point. But just what I was guessing was that TV they were looking for things that were cost effective with two people because Roger and
Mm.
Mark Just Got In was on BBC Two, I think. I think I
Yeah.
might have been on BBC Two. And I thought, oh, maybe they're looking for that then. Maybe they want just two people in one situation. So I think they went in the kitchen. I think they went upstairs, and I think that was it. So I thought it's a really cheap set, and it's
Mm.
cheaper because there's less actors in it. So I spent quite a bit of time trying to develop two-handers basically. And I ended up working at an innovation company. And when I was working at an innovation company, I really tried to think, right, focus on this. But pre that, I'd worked for a company called Mannheim, who you won't know, but Mannheim are involved in car auctions. And I was
Ah.
working on setting up a website to that makes me sound like I can do IT and websites. I wasn't doing that. I bigged up my part massively there. I was working on the marketing side of it, and one of the bits we did quite a bit of research, and one of the things we looked at for this car website, one thing we saw as a trend was car sharing,
Mm.
but we weren't doing that on our site, and I just thought, oh, that's quite interesting. And I then joined, and I can't remember the name of the site, but I joined a site because I was traveling from Manchester to Macclesfield, and I thought, actually, I could car share. That'd be a
Mm.
good thing to do. So I think that was just in my head as a thing.
Mm.
And then I remember the morning walking into work at this innovation company, and I just saw two people in the car, and I thought, that's the idea. They
Mm.
pushed into this car share scheme, and that's where it was. And that's when I went and I had I kind of I think I fermented it a little bit more, and then finally spoke to Tim because Tim had talked about for a while wanting to do some comedy because he knew I'd done a bit,
Mm.
and he wanted to do some stuff. So I said, look, do you fancy writing this thing? I've got this idea, and thankfully he said yeah because I'm the person who kind of I need, well, not need, but I like having somebody else to play with, so you can kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
you can bounce off somebody else, but also it's good for deadlines for me as well.
Yes.
I've got tons of ideas that I've got just my own because I'm not talking to anybody else about it. They just stay as ideas. But if I talk to somebody else about it, then that idea becomes real. You might find the way, you do a
Yeah.
podcast for a reason. So it might
Yeah.
be that you've got a deadline.
Yeah, I'm always saying that. That's why I
Yeah.
need somebody else to do it. So how long was it in the development before you took the idea to Peter?
So Tim and I crafted six scripts, so a full series of it.
Mm.
And then I was kind of going, right, what are we going to do next? Because remember what I said earlier, I've never met a commissioner. So that's important in this story. And so we thought we were going to send this in cold to people. Now I could use a bit of. I had some creds. I hadn't. I'm not. I wasn't a nobody. But I didn't have an agent. And so it was. Peter took me out for a birthday meal. So it must have been around the December time. So it would have been near my birthday. And I said to him, "Look, I've got this thing." I explained what I'd done. Explained who I was doing it with. And I said, "Before I make a fool of myself, will you read it?"
Mm.
So just wanted his kind of take on it. So if he'd have said, "Look, it needs a lot of work,"
Yeah.
then I might have gone, right, we shouldn't send this in because it'll fall at the first hurdle. But I didn't think at that point he'd come back. And it wasn't me being very smart to go, I'll pretend this is a thing for somebody else and see. This was very much going, look, just look at it. It could have been about a female dance troupe, you know, it could have been anyone
Yeah.
who was sending to him. It definitely wasn't a thing thinking to get him in the part of John. And I just said, look, have a read of it. And he took a while reading it because it was 6 episodes, so it wasn't a quick read. And then came back and said, "This is good. I think I could play John." And so that wasn't. I was pleased that he liked it. I was surprised that he wanted to play John because John was much younger as a character. But obviously going, oh my God, this means it's gonna get made.
So the 6 episodes that you had written, are they the same outlined as the 6 episodes that went to air in the first series?
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're in a slightly different order. And don't test me on what order it was. I remember us moving the order around just to set up who those characters were. But yeah, they're in there really as. I mean, they've changed a lot. They changed a lot as we went through. We didn't have. There's certain elements we didn't have. We didn't have the video sequences within that. We made more of the radios who went on. We changed some dialogue because obviously John and Kaylee were both younger. So some of that changed, but not hugely, less than you'd think. And then we just added things in because we were crafting them to be as you do. They were our first drafts, so it's just a
Yeah.
normal process you go through, really.
And when the BBC got on board, did they have particular stipulations about it, as you're saying about the budget and things like that, or did they just go, yeah, go on?
I think, to be honest with you, and I wasn't involved in any of those conversations, but I
Mhm.
think, in all honesty, I think they were just thrilled to get Peter to do something for the BBC because it's the first thing he'd done for the channel. So I think they were just very happy with doing it, and he's got a track record, and so we were left to our own devices.
Mm.
Which, to be fair, that it's not a hugely different Para Parker. You know, they see stuff, they want
Yeah.
to see things, they want to know what you're doing. But there's a trust there. There's a trust with the production company. There's a trust with the director and the writers, etc., etc. So that is there. I think possibly he's got more kind of freedom than
Hmm.
us. There's a group of people who will have that freedom. I would never claim that I've got the same amount of freedom as he's got. There's no way I would be trusted like that. But he
Yeah.
pulls in an audience, so they want
Yeah.
want him to pull in that audience. So yes, I think we were largely left to our own devices, really.
Was there, because all the stuff that Peter had done previously to that was all on Channel 4, so was they in the equation at all before you went to the BBC, or was it
It was
straight to
just
the
it was a
BBC?
sorry, Lucy. It was a conversation with BBC directly. I think it was a conversation with Shane Allen because Shane had previously been at Channel 4 and had commissioned the stuff from Peter at Channel 4. So I think Peter had a good relationship with Shane, and so that felt like actually let's have a conversation with him. Now, if the BBC had said, "Not for us, thank you. We've got another car share sitcom in development," then we might have ended up at Channel 4. But we started at BBC and stayed at BBC.
Oh, that's good. And so how did Sean get involved? Was that after Peter had said he wanted to play the part and then you needed a new Keeley?
Yeah, so weirdly, even though Kaylee was younger, I wrote Kaylee as Sean. Just because you do that anyway. Sometimes it's an amalgamation of different people. You kind of go, oh, that's John is a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of a guy I worked
Mhm.
with years ago. I can't remember his name or whatever it is. And with Kaylee, it was very much that I think that's Sean, but the younger version of Sean. So much so that when Sean eventually got to read script, she went, "This is me. I've read that." She was right. I was basically going out with her with Peter and her, and we're sat having meals. I'm going, and laughing at her stories because she's very good at stories, thinking that's going in, that's going in, that's going in. And so she saw lots of herself in that. No, and I think Peter did that. Peter saw that
Mhm.
when he read it, and he said to me, he said, "What do you think about Sean playing Kaylee?" And I just thought, great idea, that's amazing. Not even thinking in my naivety of going, that might be a hurdle for the channel. That might be
Mhm.
BBC might go, well, could we not put somebody, and Sean would say this is herself, so I'm not doing anything disrespectful to her.
Mhm.
And as a name, she wasn't known at the time as an
No.
entity. And so I think Pete had those conversations. I didn't have those conversations with the channel.
Mhm.
He managed to convince them. He said, "Trust me, this will work." And thank God he did, because I think in some ways, Sean being unknown playing Kaylee, I think really helps because Peter brings a lot of a spotlight to it,
Mhm.
and that's good and bad, And he would say
Yeah.
too. And I think having then, if we'd have put a bigger name into for Kaylee, or a bigger name at the time in for Kaylee, then I think that would have been too much of a spotlight on this. And you kind of go in, what some people are like, they're willing things to fail.
Mhm.
So I think it helped us in lots of ways having um, Kaylee as unknown Sean Gibson. Then it feels good to say
I
unknown
know.
Sean Gibson.
Award-winning Sean Gibson.
Award-winning Sean Gibson now, but I think at the time, I think that was the right decision for lots of reasons. But yeah, just as I've said.
And so the filming in the car, what was the process of coming up with that?
I'm not technically minded. So Martin Riley, who'd worked on Pop Factor previously, and quite a few of the comic reliefs videos that Peter had done, and he's got that kind of brain.
Mm.
And when I first saw the kind of output of his brain and saw it on its dashboard of all these cameras, I was like going, my God, this is like I was thinking this two-hander would be cost effective. This is kind of really quick. So you're seeing this, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. And anybody else I spoke to at the time, less so now, but at the time, anybody that was any way technical in the TV industry went, "Have you got pictures of the rig?" And they just wanted to see this. They were so excited by this, the way it was set up. And I
Yeah.
remember pieces being written in the media about the whole rig of it, people getting
Mm.
very anorak about it because it was outstanding. Nothing like previously you'd see things on Top Gear and there'd be somebody in the seat filming.
Yes. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
would be it. And a GoPro on the roof or something
Yeah.
like that. And this was another level really. But I wasn't involved in it. Lots of really smart people were, led by Martin Riley.
I was just going to say, maybe you can take some credit for the filming of Adolescence because they have that whole, the camera is in the van in the fourth episode and goes with them the whole way through the and they had somebody on the roof and they had all this thing. Yeah, I was like, oh well,
Yeah.
there you go.
I like how you said, Dawn, that I can take some credit for
Yes,
that.
you can
And
take some
that's great.
credit.
So I'm gonna sit in meetings and go, well, basically adolescence is down to me. Dawn says.
Yes, there you
So
go.
yeah, I mean there were different things we did. So we had obviously the rig in the car.
Hmm.
We were then pulling that car. So we didn't do that. Very boring technically, but some people might like this. It
Yeah.
wasn't a low loader. So we were being towed by a van.
Hmm.
And then we had to then monitor everything in a van behind, which is why the window's dirty at the back. Why everybody thinks, why is his windows dirty? Why is it still dirty? What's happened to his window? It's like, well, because I'm in a van behind.
Yeah.
Different things. So yeah, series one, nobody knew what the hell we were doing when we were going through areas of Manchester with that. They just thought some cars being towed because you couldn't see
All
the
right.
outside, it was being filmed. Whereas adolescents, you could see the guy, you'll probably remember
Yes.
the guy on top, whereas you couldn't see that this was happening in the car. So we got away with it. Whereas series two, people went, that's not fear, that's not red. So they knew us a bit more. So we got away with less then, but we still got away with it largely because it just looked like a car being towed.
What about when you filmed at Blair Drummond? How on earth did you film inside the car first and then film the exteriors? The scenes with all the monkeys and on the car. they're reacting to the monkeys. So I couldn't figure out which way round you did
We
it.
went round a couple of times. And initially, I was chatting to somebody the other week about the safari stuff, and it's those things where you go jogs your memory. You go, God, I
Mm.
forgot we did that. And so when we were writing that, Peter, Sean, and I went to a safari park and basically wrote it going around the safari park,
Oh, brilliant.
recording stuff and going, which was natural conversation stuff, which was happening then, and hoping some of that stuff would happen at pleasure. And then we did that. We went around a few times. We did some stuff where we wanted to get. I know we were putting food on the car to get the monkeys to come on the car. So there were people from the park itself helping us to do that. And then I think I might have this wrong. So Sean and Peter and others can correct me on it. But I think then because we got them on the car, we knew where roughly they'd be. So then we did the stuff in the car to go look to your left, look to your right, and that'll be the stuff you're reacting to that way. I'm sure that's how we did it. Yeah. If not,
And
it was kind of maybe getting a few options of that, really.
Ah, come on. Come and see Auntie Kaylee.
Oh, it's on the car! Hey, Macey, put the wipers on.
Don't, you'll scare it.
Hey, good. There should be signs up. This place has gone downhill.
You'd love to have a little monkey, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. Ah!
Oh, they're biting, they're biting. Oh, they're on the back.
The frig.
Trying to get in.
Ah!
They're
Ah!
everywhere. Hello.
This is not a good day out.
so was it a stunt monkey that you had in the car, or was it a was that
Stunt.
purely CGI? No.
No, it's not purely CGI. No, there was a monkey that no, because I remember we filmed that somewhere near Liverpool, and I remember on the day we'd all talked about this, going, "Yeah, there's a monkey's coming. We've got this booked," and we saw different videos of different monkeys. Oh, yeah, there's a monkey coming. And when we turned up and the monkey was there, going, "Oh my God, there's a monkey!" It's like as if we hadn't known this monkey was going to turn up. And I remember Sean going, "I'm not going anywhere near this monkey." Like we were just thinking this because we've written it's going to rip your face off. We thought this monkey was violent in our head. It was a very bizarre day. So then there's obviously things CGI with it in the car.
Yeah.
It's a real monkey that I can't remember the monkey's name either. I can't remember.
Oh, I know that from Friends when they used to film with Marcel that every single member of the cast hated the monkey. So you know,
I don't think we had spent enough time with the monkey to either love or hate it. Yeah, it was the one day of it, and we got it all in one day.
just a weird experience to considering it's been a two-hander and then it's
It's just bizarre. And I remember clearly also saying to Peter, going, we were thinking of ideas for series 2, and I said, I came up with Safari, going, I think we can have a day away, and I think I was thinking, well, could you take a car that's really
Yeah.
you could just anyway, it's just streets. That's not you want somewhere different. I thought I think we can do it, and I think there's initially pushback of going, it's a bit like, should we do that? Should we do that? And then we all thought about it a bit more and went, actually, there's some fun we could have in this as an episode, and it's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, mine too. I remember watching it in the middle of the night, laughing hysterically because I binged obviously the whole of season 2.
There's so much happening in that episode. Is that the only one without a video in it? I think.
Is it the only one? I think it might be the only one. It's the only one on that series. Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah. You're testing me now. Is there a quiz?
Well, that's Lucy's specialty. We know, especially from the outtakes and the things that have been on Comedy Shuffle, that there was a lot of improvisation. How did that work? Was it there were plot points you had to hit and you improvised around it, or did you just do several different versions of scenes?
So the improvisation would have happened anyway because of just the nature of Peter and Sean, and also the nature of their relationship as well, I think would have happened. But it really happened because a lot of the time we spent, because of weather, because everything was filmed outdoors largely, even though we're inside a car, you're outdoors because you're seeing the weather all the time. So we spent a lot of time trying to match that and match scenery too. So there was one chunk of road that we went that was greenery, 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 greenery. So we knew we've got a big run of this. We can do these scenes. And then there's another run where you go, there's loads of buildings close up, so we can do these scenes. So you were chopping around quite a lot, much more than you do on a normal shoot. And so because of that, sometimes you go in, we haven't got either of those things. So we're just going to drive until we get to that thing. So we just carry on filming in case we got some good stuff. So you were kind of maximizing the time. So there's lots of stuff didn't get used. And I talked about earlier where I was in the van following. So often I'd have to go, you can't say that. That trips up something else. You go,
Yes.
if you say that, because they're just improvising stuff. So Kaylee might say something about a family member that she's been never mentioned before. And so,
Yes.
well, we've got to explain who this family member is just because it's things they naturally were talking about. And so some of the stuff we couldn't use because it would ruin story. And then some stuff you just can't use because it wasn't good enough. And some stuff you can't use because it just
Legally.
Oh, not that makes it sound like they were saying things they shouldn't. That's not fair. But yeah, things just wouldn't work in the
No.
program, So I think, yeah, but it was, there was lots of it. And lots of it, found its way into episodes.
So
Yeah.
when you were filming, was it like the pre getting to work, was that always filmed on the same side of the road going in one direction and all the bit afterwards coming back in the other direction, or was it just
It was
like
just
you say, this needs houses, so we do like you just said, it's
yeah, it just had to match that way, really. So if there were people, I remember people at the time who lived in the areas where we filmed and go, what is this route to work? It doesn't make any sense. Down one road and then you turn a corner, you'd be 15 miles away from that point, and then you'd be coming in the different direction. So it didn't work like that, unfortunately. So we assumed most people wouldn't pick that up, but people who were local went, that's my route, and that is not the route to work.
I assume you filmed all the scenes in the car park outside the supermarket at the same time, so that was all, or roughly the same time.
We did those over. Were we there for a week and a bit? I can't remember. We did. We put them all. We did them all together. Yeah, so we knew we had the. But we did. Yeah, so things coming in and going out. We filmed all of those, and then we had. But we'd have had in series one, we'd have had Reese come up to do Stingray, and obviously he's in that. So I wonder if we did. I can't remember whether we did him as a special, just so sort of whether that was the start of us filming the supermarket, because there was certain, guests had to put in as well.
I was going to say, knowing now that obviously all the scenes are completely out of order when you filmed, it makes it even more impressive how they managed to convey the building of the relationship. How the vibe. Like I'm thinking of when they're in the supermarket car park, in season 1, and they don't know each other very well, and then in the finale when they've taken the relationship that little bit further, managing to convey that in scenes that you're filming, on the same day is impressive. The different vibe that they give in each scene. I'm just saying it's impressive.
No, it is, but you're right, because I watched actors do, we've not got a same storyline in Power Parker, but I watched them go through different emotions and at different times, that build and wanes or whatever, and within that, and you watch them switch it on, you go, oh my God, these people are good. You're seeing people who can do that.
Yes.
Well, this is where I need to be on this scene. Whereas I just go, this is one note, that's all you get in.
How did your cameo decision come about? For those that don't know, Paul is the person in the street, the Art Garfunkel in the street, who picks up John when he falls.
I'm not. That's Tim.
That's Tim. I thought it was you.
It's not me, no.
Oh well, are you in it then?
I am in. I'm in a few times as different bits. So in the band video, John's band video, I'm the foot tapping.
Yes.
I was Stingray's hand body double, switching up the radio in the car. I'm also a spaceman in the episode with Elsie, walking towards camera.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then there's another bit where I'm pushing a trolley, but I think you only see that much of me. So you only see torso of me. So you'd never guess that. I wouldn't even guess that. But yeah, so a few times I'm in.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not interested in being on. I just like, oh, I don't know. I want to be on telly.
What, behind the scenes only?
Do you mind if I turn the radio on?
Go for it.
I love this. So do you think this car share thingy's gonna work?
Not if you have to listen to this every day.
I love Forever FM. They play timeless hits now and forever.
I won't say Martika's Kitchen was timeless.
Well, you remembered it.
So the Forever FM and the music in car share is frequently been described as the third character. Was that originally intended, or was that more Peter's influence? And obviously you mentioned earlier with your history with the music videos and Pop Factor.
Yeah, we always had radio in, but we built more on radio. So not weirdly, but my background is in radio. So I worked for various radio stations since leaving university. And so that's what I did was that. So Charlie FM, when Peter was doing that, remember, if you look at that Charlie FM logo, it's based on what was, you might not even remember, but Century FM was a radio station. And it's based on that logo because I went to do that. And I did the lines for Charlie FM, where the listener comes first. They're all my lines because I'm a radio person. So I remember having conversation with Peter about the radio in it and realized we could do much more. And then we got in touch with two guys that I used to work with who do this for a living, do adverts for various commercial businesses. And we want to do some adverts, but they need to sound real. And so it wasn't just about the music having the radio, it was about making sure that radio felt like a proper radio station. So that bits where you're in the car, where you might find the ads annoying on a radio station, but you find yourself singing along to the jingle for the tile shop. We wanted that to happen as part of that. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, brilliant.
I don't think it did, but I gave you extra bits.
No, that's great. And so do you think that the music adds to the story? Because I notice music's also quite dominant, not so much in the radio way, but in background in Para Parker. There's a cracking playlist in that as well as in Car Shed. But do you think it adds something?
I really think it does, yeah. And I think in Car Share, I think we're adding that because otherwise I think we'd have been very quiet scenes and lots of silence in that, whereas the music helps to kind of fill some of those silences. In Power Parker, it's doing a slightly different job because we're trying to set a time period because we're going back to early 90s, so anything needs to be pre that, but setting that scene. So in series 2, for example, we're making sure it's set in 92 and we're going, we need the 92 banger to start with, so we set where this is straight away. But I know certainly when I was writing with Carter, with Peter and Sean, we'd spend lots of our time thinking about the music, which is just a way of distracting yourself from going, we're going to have to write a script in a minute. We'll just work on the music. And Sean and I do it with Para Park because that's continued, where we'll spend ages going, what track? And then it often won't be that because it can't be cleared. There'll be other people who want to say on what that track will be anyway. But it's a really good way, I think, for us to get in a mood to kind of to write some stuff, and it helps us procrastinate.
I think also that it does kind of like at the end, like with Love Shack in one of the episodes, and like Rasputin in Para Parker, when it comes bang on the end of a scene and like go over the credits, it does just give it that little bit more of the final scene a bit more oomph, if that makes sense.
It completely can. I think music can be really powerful in those scenes, and it can be like Rasputin. That was Jill Isles who went, oh, what should we try that on that one? Rasputin, that sounds weird. And then we saw it and went, oh my God, that's the best choice ever to have on that. But we spend a lot of time thinking about those tracks and changing those tracks because we want to make sure that they're helping those scenes in the right way, but also setting tone for that, because the different environments can, it's not just about this is the soundtrack for those series, it's about where we're going with those. Particularly in Para Parker, it's different. The environment stays the same in Car Share.
I think also with Car Share as well, it's great to have that because you don't just want a cutaway shot of the car driving along with nothing. It's a great way to segue into the next scene, and like that time's moved on, and so having that overlap, I think it is a really great tool to have that. I think if you watched it all without the music, it would definitely take away from it.
Oh, it'd be very weird, yeah. And it's also understanding that for John and for Kaylee, music is important to them in different ways,
Mhm.
but it's important to them, and it's kind of it unites them, but also pushes them further away in terms of the music taste as well. But they've got some commonality because they like music, just in different ways.
Did you spend a lot of time looking at the lyrics, or is it just the the feel? Because in Car Share, it seems like every song the lyrics are perfect for the scenes.
I think we probably just naturally knew those songs really
Mm.
well. We didn't go through and go, is this, we weren't writing a musical. Going to, but we probably just thought that it feels like what's a good track for this, and we instantly went to certain tracks for that.
Take a note of that, Car Share the musical.
So you mentioned the music videos. Were there any that you'd like to have done, but you couldn't have got the rights to?
We did everyone we wanted to,
Really?
which is a rubbish answer to your question. You'd like us to do ones, but we did all the ones we did were the ones we wanted to do. There's some early doors before we even got to that stage of choosing which one we were deciding. We looked at various videos, and some of them you're looking at to go, if we're doing that, how does that fit that story? What can we steal from that? But I remember when we did the bodyguard one, I remember looking at different options for that, and then we just went, oh, it's got to be bodyguard. But I can't remember what the other options were.
So is it always going to be crazy for you?
one.
Because the bodyguard, obviously, Crazy for You wasn't from that
Yeah.
film, so that.
Yeah, so
But-
we merged those two, but there was another one, or another was something else we were looking at the time, and then we merged those. We would have watched. It's the same thing as the music thing. We're watching those music videos on YouTube just as a way of distracting ourselves from the work we had to do, basically.
Right, I'm just going to pitch my idea to you. This is what I was saying to Dawn.
I have no power, Lucy, but
Because we're talking about the music videos. I was saying about especially for you would have been one. I would have loved to have seen that. I thought that would have been, but I was thinking Top of the Pops remake of like Christmas number ones. Anyway.
you could do that, yeah. So a little aside for you here. So when I worked at the BBC, I worked at Radio 2, and my boss at the time got me on to the music. I can't think what it was called, but it's basically a committee. It wasn't committee because that makes it sound like it's a social club, and it wasn't that. But basically, we were then tasked to look at what the future of music was going to look like on the BBC. And one of the things we had to do was to look at Top of the Pops, and we saw the research, and then we had to vote on whether we should keep Top of the Pops. I was in the room when we all took the vote to go, it should go.
Wow.
Oh, did you vote yay or nay?
I'm not going to tell you that because I'll get letters.
No, you'll get
That's
letters.
fine.
But
I
it was,
respect that.
it was basically what the research was saying was that everybody's just hanging on to it out of kind of sentimentality,
Yeah.
and nobody's watching it. It
Yeah.
had basically become the W.H. Smiths of TV.
I have to say though, I think, is it you or one of the other platforms? I was actually watching, I think it was from 1999 reruns at the weekend, and it was like Robbie Williams and Spice Girls and the Honeys, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's like being back at uni. It's like
The
Just-
reruns on BBC Four are hugely popular.
They are, yeah, but for a certain age, I think.
Yeah, irony.
It'll wean off.
I think with the time and everything, though, it worked then, because I think internet is just, it's like you say with the W.H. Smiths, internet has just killed that as well. It's like,
Yeah, because there would have been
But-
time when it was Thursday night or Friday night, whatever age you are, for Top of the Pops, where you'd go. That's the only chance you'd got to see some of those videos.
Another great song on Forever FM. Timeless hits now and forever. Richard Marx and Hazard.
Oh, forget it, Gren. You're not crying at Hazard, are you?
She's so sad. You're having a laugh. She's dead.
No one understood where I found for Mary. No one cared until one night she ran
Walking all alone,
and
never came home. That's because he killed her on a wheelie bin.
so we noticed online that Richard Marx reacted to the use of his songs in one of the episodes. So how was it seeing? Have you had any other reactions by people with the
Which
use of their
is
songs?
mad that he even knew we existed. Just feels bizarre, but that's just it's just the strangest things happen once it's created. It can go in lots of different places, and somebody's alerted with that. I don't remember anybody else getting giddy about it, but most other people were just going, "Where's my check?" But I remember him clearly. I remember sending it around to us all, going, "Oh my god, look at this!"
I think because for those listening didn't know, he said that it was the best use of one of his songs in a TV, and it was in the Comedy Shuffle, wasn't it? It wasn't even in an episode. It was one of the clips that was used for
It
Peter Kay's
was,
Comedy Shuffle, I believe.
was it not in the improv episode? It might not be. You might be right.
Oh, we'll check that.
So I've had it, but yeah, it's been broadcast anyway, so we know that. Yeah, so he's seen that, which is just bizarre.
One of the things you said was that the characters started out much younger. When you aged them up, did you then have to change the story when it came to the impetus of why Kaylee's so impatient to, you know, be in the relationship to get moving with it? Because that wouldn't have been the same
Yeah,
thing.
those things were added into that, but that was probably one of the few things that works. It was really just about, at its heart, it's about two people who are forced to be in this car share scheme, who come with different attitudes, but actually they clash, but they realize actually we quite like this clash. This is quite a fun space to be in. And so
Yeah.
but there was obviously things in terms of, you know, where they were in their lives and the relationships with wider family members, as well as different, because you're seeing it with different eyes as you get older.
Mm-hmm. So did you at that point always intend it to be a romantic chemistry, or did you just hope for it to be a you know, getting along as friends, two people that just forced together find they like each other, like the Odd Couple or something?
No, it was always going to be more than a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
It was always going to be a romance, and we always wanted to do the misdirect of going, are they going to just be friends? That was
Mm-hmm.
always the thing of the will they, won't they? And what we wanted it to be was and hopefully we got this, and perhaps you can tell me, but in terms of the audience, wanted the audience to kind of notice it before John and Kaylee did, to be going, you need what you're doing, like shouting. We wanted that bit to happen, really.
For me, it was scene episode 1 in the scene where they said, where the email goes around, they says, I think there's a misconfusion with it. They both think that the other one doesn't want to share with them, and then they say, "Oh, I'm happy sharing with you," and then they smile. Like that for me was the point where I think, hold on a minute, there's something's going to build here.
How about you?
What?
Car sharing, what do you feel about it?
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's good, yeah. Do you want to try a new buddy?
All right. I suppose it makes sense to mix it up a bit, share with new people.
Yeah, I guess.
Are you going to ask for a new buddy?
Well, I want to keep my parking space.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, if you're going to be sharing with someone else.
Me? No, I'm happy sharing with you.
All right. Yeah. I mean, me too.
Good.
That was
Did you notice
me.
that on the first watch, or is that a subsequent watch?
I think it might be the first watch, but definitely the
Yeah.
second.
Because it's there, it's definitely there to
Yeah.
be there as a clue, but we think it's quite a subtle. If they'd have said no, we'll go separate ways, that would have been a really short series.
Well, so I advised this to Dawn, and she was like,
Yeah, it took me. I was watching it thinking, oh, I really want it to be a romance. I want it to be a romance, but I bet it isn't. I bet it isn't until episode 5 with the jealousy over the other girl, and I was like, no, it's, and I was delighted.
Good.
But then we spent a lot of time arguing with people online, so that was fun.
What were you arguing about?
Yes. Are you unaware of the big controversy? You know the website Digital Spy. They had a forum, and that was where the discussion sort of went on. And this was after the second season ended, and there was huge arguments about whether it was going to be a romance or not. I am referenced in an Amazon review of the DVD because they said this was before the finale was announced. This person had said, "This is the actual end. Don't listen to certain people on Digital Spy. They think they know it all and they're wrong. This is the end." Blah blah blah. So, yeah, it was a big topic of controversy, funnily enough. But there are some classic romantic tropes in it, like the jealousy and the almost kiss. Were you aware of them as things that you specifically wanted to put in, as you said, clues that you wanted to put in, sort of drip feed it through the season?
Yeah, that's all there for us because we weren't
Mhm.
doing just tropes. We weren't thinking what are the things we should do. We were going, what are the things we want to do to kind of help this bubble along, really, and allow ourselves to have that kind of up and down. We're going, where is this going? Because we don't want it to
Mhm.
be, this is just obvious. And we wanted to, like, as I said, in terms, we want the audience to be going, oh my God, just make a move, just ask her out or ask him out, whatever. We wanted that to happen. So, yeah, some twists and turns with it, which just, is your regular thing you would have.
Yeah.
I think it's like season 2, episode 1, where John offers to come back and drive Kaylee to work. I mean, again, that's another massive signpost, but also, again, it's where the song comes into play, was REO Speedwagon with I Can't Fight This Feeling. I mean, the lyrics to that, it's like what Dawn describes it as like the shipper anthem, where like what started out as friendship has grown stronger, and it's like signpost to anybody that said, oh, how can they think it's not
Yeah.
meant to be a romance with lyrics like that?
Oh, look, there's your Nancy Day. It's in your door.
Oh, yeah, so it is.
So did you read me note?
I might have done.
And did you play track 2?
I might have done.
And?
And, I'll pick you up for work in the morning.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
could still argue against it, going, well, yeah, that nothing's happened as such.
Mhm.
I mean, but yeah, you're right. The clues are there. It's very obvious when you look back on it.
I did a master's degree and I finished last year, and one of my essays was on car share, so I've got a whole load of research on it.
My goodness. So you did a master's degree on
So-
car share?
One of my assignments was on car.
Stuff like that. I went to meet a friend who was up here up in Manchester for the Student Radio Festival. So somebody I'd worked with previously in radio world, and I walked in and he was late 'cause he's always late. He was chatting to these wannabe radio presenter students because it was a student radio festival, and they turned to me thinking, "Oh, you must work in radio. Let's be really kind, really lovely to him. He might give us a job." And I went, "Oh, you're wasting your time." I said, "I no longer work in radio. I can't give you anything." And my friend then introduced me, which I hate this, and he did this because he knows I hate this. He went, "This is the guy who wrote Carsham and wrote Para Park." So he said those things that he went, and this guy, this student, so he must have just started uni, I think, and he stood up and came over to me, and I went, "What's going on here? What's happening?" And he went, "That program changed my life." And I always find it a bit weird because you go, "How's that happened?" And he went, and he just said, "I remember watching this," and he talked about what happened in that show, and it was just like a real impact. And I was a bit going, I don't know what to say apart from that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you feel a bit pathetic because you go, it clearly had a massive impact, but you're just a bit shell shocked to go, that's had an impact. And so to me, it's just like, I do that thing and I enjoyed doing it. And great if people have liked it. That's amazing. Of course, it's a bonus. But for him to say it changed my life and what impact it had on him is always a real shock. But I've had that quite a few times. And you go, there's something happened with car share.
It's
which is-
something magical.
yeah,
when
and
all
and
the
if you've done it for
things
your,
come together.
for your masters is different. In fact, you guys are together because of it.
Mhm.
It feels different.
I think that's a lot of what I wrote about was the fact that it's not like Gavin and Stacey, the reaction with the audience. I know it was the first show to be dropped as a whole series on iPlayer. That blew up because it like broke all iPlayer records. Then it had special screenings, I think, for Comic Relief at a cinema you could go to, and then it had initial screenings with the finale, and then obviously with the petition and everything else. I think that audience side of it, and the fact that Peter's very clever play on words, I have to say, that there's going to be no series 3 or no to say that it's going to end and there isn't going to be any more new episodes being filmed. That was what all that post was all about. The audience
That was
engagement.
that interview because Peter doesn't do interviews. I remember being on 5 Live and they asked us about when the petition had come up, and I said, I can guarantee we're not going to film any more car share. We're never going to film anymore because I knew we'd already filmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we knew that we weren't lying to anybody. My conscience is clear.
Yeah, and it wasn't
Have
a
you already
series 3,
filmed
it
it?
wasn't
I
a
don't know.
Christmas
I don't know what I would have
episode.
said if they said,
No.
does that mean you've already filmed it? I'd go, "Ah."
None of it was lying, it's just
No.
misdirection, and
Yeah.
it was very sneaky and very clever.
So whose idea was that to come up with this delay and the trick, the tease?
I honestly don't know, but I'd put money on it being Peter's. Um, I think he must have said that because also I think he would have been one negotiating that with Channel too. Yeah, so that's where I put.
Because they must have, the BBC must have known that there's two more sitting in a cupboard locked away.
Yeah, they would have known that because they'd have to budget for it. So yeah, they would have known. I don't know. I mean, we didn't have it on when we filmed it. It wasn't even on call sheets. It was called something else.
Ah, right.
And because we filmed so many things out of sequence, I think there were people who probably filmed it didn't realize we filmed an extra.
Yeah, there was photographs that were taken, I'm assuming by paparazzi type thing. They look very high quality. That were on like Getty Images or something that were actually from the finale that we didn't know until after it aired. There's a whole bit of when Kaylee's walking with the parcel that's got the tape in it. There was photos of that, and we all just went, "Oh, what's that from?" And of course, people were saying, "Oh, it's just a cut scene." But we were like, no, there's something else that's being filmed.
But they were like released, but it's the fact that there was nothing with the car door coming off. You think that would have been, it's like you say, by that point, people knew the car, they knew what was being filmed. So the fact that none of that leaked, it was quite impressive.
And that's because we did that on a closed road on a Sunday on an industrial estate or the side of an industrial estate, and nobody watched it.
Ah.
So I remember one of the stunt guys filming it, and we asked him to delete it. So it was the only person who had it apart from our official filming of it.
So it was Marvel levels of secrecy.
Well, no, I wouldn't go that. You're big enough, massive work. It's probably Jill Isles walked over and said, "Do you mind deleting that? We're just trying to keep it." And he probably went, "Yeah, that's fine." I'm not sure that's Marvel level. But we just did it on an isolated, on a quiet street on a Sunday, which nobody was going down there because it was just for normal. On a Monday to Friday, it would have been busy, but nobody was there, so we just got away with it. And I think it's also there's bits when you were saying something earlier, Lucy. I think in terms of the time we did it, like going on iPlayer and stuff. I think lots of things that happen to us, it wouldn't be a thing now because obviously everything gets put on now and people binge stuff, but that wasn't the case now. And I know BBC, when they talk to us about Power Parker, they tell us what percentage of people will binge a comedy. It's the vast majority of binging it. They're not waiting every week for it. Whereas we were doing that first to do that. And I think also a bit about, I talked earlier in terms of the not being spotted so much, and we weren't being filmed the same way, even though it's only 10 years ago. It's like people weren't doing what they do now. And it's also other things like Now 48 getting back in the charts wouldn't happen now because people don't buy music like that. So lots of things are different, are just of that time period.
So did the audience reaction surprise you, or the level, as you're saying, people saying it changed their lives, and how much influence it had in terms of long term, but also at that point, how culturally the impact it was?
Yeah, it really, really surprised me. Yeah, from coming up with an idea to then seeing that on TV and getting that reaction, you go, there's nothing prepare you for that. You hope, anything you do, you go, I hope people like this. I hope it does all right. But you never, beyond expectations with that.
One of the things I'm going to assume this is Peter, but what was it, Peter, that came up with the idea to write the love song for Kaylee? Was that something that was written in from the start, or did it evolve?
No, that was later on. I can't remember exactly when that happened, but it was later on. It wasn't from the start. Yeah.
And Peter took on the writing of it with his musical collaborator.
Yeah. So he took on that. Yeah, I think whether he would say this, I don't know. But he probably always wanted to be a pop star.
So where would John be now then? Would John be a pop star now? Would he be the new Gary Barlow? Is
Are you saying Gary Barlow's not a pop star?
So no.
Or Gary Barlow.
He'd have his own wine like Gary Barlow. I think that's what he'd have. I think it's really hard because we never wanted to take it on beyond that. So I don't spend much time thinking where they would be, but I'm hoping that they'd be together. and I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form, John will be doing some music. I don't think it would be a career by any stretch, but I think he's doing some, and probably Kaylee's, going along for the ride, sat there in some working men's club while he's singing along.
Maybe in a car showing a minivan with kids in the back.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happened. Yeah, because look, we had loads of people do house share. We want to see house share. Do you really want to see? Do you want to see that, or do you just want to go? That happened and it's lovely.
That's the one thing about car shows, except for one scene in the cafe at the Silver Swan, everything was either in the car or outside. There's nothing indoors at all.
Yeah, yeah. Even when they go to the works do, we did everything in the car park. And originally the rule was going to be that the car had to always be inside, and we broke that rule in series one. So we never talked about that rule with anybody, just because we needed to do that stuff inside there. So yeah.
So that was a conscious decision then, that nothing was to be indoors.
Yeah, and then we broke it with the cafe thing, but yeah, we wanted it all to be in or around the car. That was the idea, really. As a rule, but rules are meant to be broken, I suppose, aren't they?
Absolutely. So how different is it then with the process of writing Carol Parker to car share? Because with Sean and Peter kind of involved with their characters dynamic, I suppose, whereas Conleth and Rosie, do they still have an influence, or is it you and Sean and then elaborate later? Or
So I think it is different because you're going. I'm not sat in the room with the people who are going to play them. Rarely do I sit in a room with Sean, before we do a lot of it online, because we did the first series, a lot of that in COVID, and so we got used to going, well, we don't need to, we know how to do this now. It's why get in a car and travel. So we do a lot of that stuff, and certainly for series two, I think Conleth and Rosie's voices are there because we know how they'll deliver these various lines, so it's easier to write once you've got those voices in your head. And when we first started writing it, we oh my god, we wanted Rosie and we wanted Conleth, but we didn't know if they would do it, if the channel would want them to do it. There's lots of different things, question marks, whether you just don't know, do you? And so you write, as I said before, writing Kaylee for the first time, you're writing it with Sean in mind. There's always somebody in mind, but for this we wrote it with them in mind to play these parts. And so it is different in the sense of going, they're not going, I wouldn't say that, or they're not saying it themselves, and you're writing that down, but you have got the voices in your head going. And particularly with Rosie, like writing Rosie for Diane is just a dream to do, because it's our easy. Sean and I both said this, she's the easiest one to write for that. We just know exactly what she's going to do. I think Martin's character's got a few different dimensions to him, so I think that makes it a bit more difficult. And then obviously Kath, that's Sean. So Sean with the voice in the room going, I wouldn't say that.
so Carol Parker is like a different kind of love story. So at the end of season one, Martin turns up on Kath's doorstep. So can you tell us where we find them in 1992? Or
we found them in 1992, and so Kath's relationship with her sister is back on track, and she's trying to make sure that stays on track. So she's trying to make sure that Diane's happy, but she's also trying to make sure Martin's happy too. So Martin's not got a job, Martin needs some help, so Kath starts to interfere, and that's where the fun starts.
And do you know when that is going to be airing? Have you got its own date in mind?
I do. It's not been announced.
Okay, top secret.
Yeah.
It's not long. We're doing a press preview of it on beginning of May. So yeah.
So later this year.
Yes.
So I mean, and it's a very different kind of love story, isn't it? So I mean, and the dynamics to the characters are, there's more characters involved. Is that it's more complex to write, or is it, how do you approach that?
It's really complex to write. Yeah, I don't mind admitting that. It's kind of because we've both times, series 1 and 2, it's much more of a drama, than we've. It's a comedy. When I'm not saying I'm not trying to hide behind that going it's a comedy drama. It's a comedy, but there's much more dramatic twists and turns in this. You know, we had two people in the car going, and a fishman might get in, and that's your twist. Whereas now we're going, there's so much more happens. So you get to the end, and you go, blimey, if we took the jokes out of this would be a proper drama.
Mhm.
With this. So yeah, so it's been a real learning curve, and I've really enjoyed it. That's not me whinging about it. It's just been a different thing to do, which is great. You should always challenge yourself in some kind of way, I think. But yeah, we didn't. I don't think we were that aware of what we let ourselves in. But we've got this idea, and we just thought, oh, that'll be fun to do, and it has been fun to do, but a lot harder than car share.
So 1990, do you like the nostalgia side of it, the rising, or?
Yeah, we do like that. But the reason we did that, and I know we had a chat about this when
Mhm.
we came out, Dawn, it was more about we wanted to, because there was an affair going on, we wanted to go, how's he got away with that? And we wanted to be the technology not allowing that to happen. And so that's the reason we got in that. But now I think we've just fallen in love with going, oh, this is quite good to be in this era and have some music from that and the fashions from that time. It's just a good place to be. But it's weird when I went to first meetings about it, it's going, because it's a period piece. And I'm going, a period piece? Like thinking it's like Pride and Prejudice, and going, oh yeah, it is. It's a period. So we're doing a period piece, and it's just 90s.
But to us, so we think 90s, we think 10 years ago, and then when somebody turns around and actually tells us how long it is, which I won't say because it'll
It'll
depress all of
upset you.
us. And it's just like,
Too
Yeah,
depressing.
and and also, you know, you've got art department, you've got costume, you've got hair and makeup. They get giddy about going, oh, we can do some really fun stuff here that we don't get to do on a regular basis, whatever that period is. But 90s, they get really excited about because lots of them lived through the 90s who we're working with. And then you've got
So I
some
guess-
people on set who don't remember the 90s because they're too young, and you go away.
you say that. I work with somebody in an office, and she was 24 last week, and she was like, you were born in this millennium. I like, just go away. I don't even want to know. It's like, but I guess also being in an electrical shop in 1990, was that difficult to source all those props? Or I guess there is some kind of warehouse somewhere that does all that.
Yeah, so we filmed that on an old Bright House. You remember the Bright House who used to charge the ridiculous credit
Mhm.
interest on that, sorry. So we did filmed in one of those in Stockport. So we just put all these old 90s tellies in and washing machines and what have you in that. And the doors were open because we were going in and out doing stuff. And we had quite a few people in Stockport wander in and think it was a genuine shop. And you're going, like the TV has got a back on it. It's like, TVs now have backs on it. What are you thinking we're selling here? I thought it was like Brightos had reopened. But yeah, so we had tons of that stuff. And I remember we were showing stuff to those younger members, and they're going, what is this? Like a TV with video in it. It's like we were going, these were like the thing to get at the time. They just thought nothing of it.
I remember taking my nephew and one of his friends to the Science Museum once and trying to explain to them what a record player was.
Yes.
Science Museum for a record player. Wow.
Yeah, it's like, okay. But so what TV love stories or series have you been influenced by? Is there anything, what are your favorites like now or
This is
from
this
the
is really,
past?
a really tough question, because there will have been stuff that I would have watched at the time, whether it's moonlighting or not, but I don't go back and hark back and go, ooh, that's when it's probably more in film really than telly. Which and I go back probably every couple of years. I go back and watch When Harry Met Sally.
Oh
yeah.
I love that film.
Just, it's perfect. The whole
Yes.
film is just, and I can't believe they've not remade it. And I don't want them to
No, don't. Yeah.
for a new audience. Do you know what I mean? It kind of feels
Mhm.
like you could move that on for that. So it's probably more those kind of things that would have been than telly stuff. Although I would have watched stuff on TV. You know, willing a love story. I'm trying to think of something recent that I would have watched to do that. I mean, I enjoyed all the stuff in Heartstopper, series one of that, of going, God, I wish this had existed when I was at school. That kind of stuff was great. And maybe the TV stuff, you know, just wasn't like that so much when I was growing up. It wasn't the same.
I've
told you can't live your life in fear, John, on your own.
What, and because you say those things, they're true? I'm not like you, I don't live my life in a bloody fairy tale.
I don't live in a fairy tale, John. I just want to be happy.
And we are happy, aren't we?
Between junction 20 and 21 is still causing
Oh,
problems.
how
It's been moved
infuriating. I just can't.
to close the inside lane between those two
I
junctions.
can't do this anymore.
What are you doing? Where are you going? What? Can't do what?
I can't waste any more time, John. I've told you. I haven't got time to waste.
What are you doing?
I'm going. I'm getting out.
Getting out where?
Of your car. Of your life.
Why?
Because I love you, that's why. And it's killing me that you don't feel the same.
You must have subconsciously have absorbed a lot of it because you played it out so perfectly, dished out the romance. It's like a play by numbers. If you want to do a romance, watch Car Share. That tells you how to
Yeah.
divide it
Yeah,
up. So.
they'll all be in there because there's
Yeah.
those comedies that I love that have got those love stories in. I just wouldn't go, that's the one, that's definitely that one there, or that one's the one that influenced this. You're right, they're probably subliminally all there, and they're in lots of sitcoms that I love. Those tropes will be in. Yeah.
So are you anything else that you're working on now that you can tell us about, or is it all top secret, or?
No, it's all top secret. I just never talk about it until it's something, because I think it always puts a kiss of death on it. So developing stuff, always pushing stuff. But yeah, I think until somebody shouts action, it can stop. And so you go, why have I talked about that now? I'm now going to be dragging around that I was doing this program on such and such, and it's never happened. Yeah. So hopefully there will be more things down the line. I think I just want to work on projects that really excite me, and I want to work with people that I really like spending time with. And if you can get that, you've won, I think.
You have been listening to The Shipyard, 10th anniversary special of Peter Kay's Car Share. We would like to thank our very special guest Paul Coleman, and we'd like to thank you for listening.